Assalamualaikum everyone, we are from Group 7 and today we're going to present about Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. My name is Nur Amani binti Abu Bakar and my matric number is 2017092. There are a variety of educational systems that have been invented in order to enhance the quality of education. One of it is Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or known as CEFR. Here is a few items that we're going to discuss in today's presentation. Stay tuned. First thing first, I would like to highlight what is CEFR. So CEFR has been invented through the European Cultural Convention by the member of states of the Council of European, which they commit themselves to facilitating communication among citizens through the promotions of each other's languages. Apart from that, the CEFR has been an international standard for teaching and learning of languages. Additionally, it is a framework that is widely recognized for describing language instruction, learning, and assessment. CEFR consists of 6 levels of competency which provide thorough description of what students of second and foreign languages are able to perform in terms of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Moving on to the history of CEFR, there are a lot of language projects since 1960 which focus on language learning for communication, promoting a learner-centered, action-oriented, and positive approach. All those language projects aim to focus on promoting learner autonomy based on self-confidence and motivation. A positive approach was required, as well as valuing everything that learners could do in a foreign or second language. One of the most significant projects is the threshold level, which specifies on English language, then French, and now it's almost 30 languages. Now I'm going to explain on the establishment of CEFR. It started in 1990, which there is a conference named Transparency and Coherence in European Language Learning Goals, Evaluations and Certification was a starting point for CEFR. While a year later, the first draft of the framework proposal published in December. In 1996, after the consultation has been done, there are 3,000 copies sent out to institutions and experts in all member states. By doing so, there are several hundred evaluative questionnaires returned and analyzed. The second draft of the framework proposal submitted in 1997 for scrutiny of the Conference Language Learning for a New Europe. In 1998, after the subsequent revision, the second draft printed and distributed for piloting together with the accompanying user guide. The official launch of the CEFR is in 2001 at the beginning of the European Year of Languages, and 3 years later, the pilot versions of the manual for relating examination to the CEFR has been developed. In the year 2007, the role of CEFR has been confirmed as a stimulus for reflection and further development of current curricula and teaching process. After extensive piloting, in 2009, the manual relating language examination to the CEFR, which focuses on learning, teaching, and assessments, was published. In 2013, the decision is made to revisit the CEFR's conceptual framework and update, and as well as expand the illustrative descriptor to include the areas left out in 2001. In a couple of years, the draft descriptors for the new CEFR skills for aspects of mediations, online interaction, literary reaction, and plurilingualism and pluriculturalism were validated. Following extensive piloting and consultation with member states, institutions, and approximately 800 individuals in 2018, the CEFR companion volume with new descriptors in English and French was published online. In In 2020, publication of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which focus on learning, teaching, assessment, has been included in companion volume in English with all descriptors made modality and gender inclusive. The French version has been published in 2021. Recently, the volume of case study in enriching 21st century language education, which is the CEFR companion volume, has been published.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Nur Izzah with Baharudin, number metric 2011804. For my part, I will talk about the countries that have adapted the CEFR. Launched in 2001 and originated in Europe, CEFR is recognized in more than 40 countries and is now being adopted in countries far beyond Europe, including Mexico, Canada, Japan, China, and also Vietnam. For your information, adapt and adopt are two verbs that sound similar but have completely different meanings. Adapt is used when something is taken over, chosen, accepted, or approved by choice. Adapt is used either when a change is made to make something more suitable for a particular use or when adjusting to a new place. Since there are so many countries that has adopted and adapted CEFR, I will present about 4 countries that has been widely known to be using CEFR in their language education system. As well around the world, English language teaching, learning, and assessment in mainland China are undergoing substantial change towards the establishment of a common framework of English language ability scales known as the China Standards of English (CSE) that has taken the CFR as a reference point, since a wide range of language curricula and assessments currently exist at different stages and levels of education. China also has developed a 9-level scale so that the standards of English language education can be aligned to international frameworks and thus prepare the Chinese people to become the global citizens. Moreover, the descriptive framework has subdivisions of organizational knowledge as in grammatical and textual, primitive knowledge as in functional and social linguistic, as well as interpreting and translation following the genres outlined in social linguistic knowledge. In general, this seems to reflect a much more functional approach to language knowledge than in the original CEFR 2001 document. For example, social linguistic knowledge is subdivided into genres, dialects, varieties, registers, and idiomatic expression, as well as cultures and figure of speech. This is a key difference between CFR 2001 as well as CSE is in the target users of the China. Last but not least, we can see that CSE is intended for the Chinese learner of English at all educational stages, whereas the CFR is developed principally to aid foreign language learning in an adult context in Europe itself. In the country of Japan, they use a modified version known as CEFRG in order to ensure that the framework reflects its local standards in teaching and learning, curriculum development, as well as assessment. CEFRG, unlike CEFR, introduces scales using a branching approach with narrower levels of E1 plus and E2 plus, B1 plus and B2 plus to make CEFR more usable in the Japanese context. It was felt that these increasing levels allow teachers to take better fine-tuned student assessment, which meant being able to create a more separation between students within a band. This use of CEFRG scales allows students of near E2 or A2 students who did not see their progress improve on their vertical skills in the initial stages of the program because of the time needed to acquire skills to be considered as A2 plus or B1 plus. In addition to these newly delineated levels, can-do descriptors were created or adapted to the Japanese context. These descriptors were edited and revised based on material common to English proficiency tasks already used in Japan as well as additional sources. Moreover, scholars working on the CFJ compile in an extensive set of descriptors and make them available in both English and Japanese. This goal is that these can-do descriptors will help curriculum designers and materials developers create context-specific materials based on what learners demonstrate at each CFJ level. For the first time, all the English curricula from elementary school to high school will be referenced against the CFR levels and standards. Moreover, Japan government also required that the classroom materials should be in line with the goals of the CFR and that teachers will need to teach according to the spirit of CFR, as in by applying communicative principles to teaching and assessment. Such statements should serve as strong encouragement for institutions and program administrators to link student outcomes to the CFR or CFRJ. CFR influence has also reached Southeast Asian nations, with Vietnam being the first Southeast Asian country to adopt it in its education system. In contrast with Japan, Vietnam has the experience of adopting and then adapting the CEFR. The Vietnamese Ministry of Education and Training (MOET) in 2008 officially began to use TFR to define English language as a benchmark for students ranging from primary through the tertiary levels of education. However, in a meeting organized by the Education Ministry, university and government representatives, it was reported that the government's target for language proficiency were too ambitious, as only 1 in 5 students achieved the targeted level for students leaving primary, junior, and secondary high schools. Then, a new approach was to be undertaken, creating CFRV, a Vietnamese version similar to CFRJ. It is indicated that the original framework would be adjusted to make it more suitable for Vietnamese studying foreign languages. In terms of content, the CFRV is actually the translation of the CFR into Vietnamese with very few modifications. Moreover, CFRV outlines the major strategies and goals of the foreign languages sector in the national education system from 2008 to 2022 and is used to standardize the English learning outcomes of all levels of education. The same goes with the country Thailand. The English Language Institute, a branch of the Ministry of Education, announced a policy of basing all aspects of English language curriculum reform on the CEFR framework in April 2014. It sets forth using the CEFR in adopting the design of language curricula, the stating of learning goals, the development of teaching and learning, the testing and assessment of learning outcomes, as well as the development of the teaching profession. The results of the reform policy, however, have not proven that the students can meet the targets. In order to meet the needs of Thai learners and users of English, a local version of CEFR for Languages Thailand, known as FRELE-CH, was published. The framework following CFR is flexible, allowing levels and categories to merge and subdivide as appropriate. It also offers examples of language functions, discourse markers, topics, vocabulary range, and grammar, also some exponents and micro skills, all of which are appropriate to English use in the local, regional, and international context of Thai communication. This framework is based on the CFR and maintains the original structure that offers 2 skill types to describe English proficiency levels, which are global and illustrative skills, as well as their descriptors. It begins with a global skill, as you can see in the table given, in which an overview of the language proficiency at all levels is presented. This is followed by the illustrative skill, which consists of 3 aspects of CEFR, represented in separate tables as in communicative activities, which cover reception, interaction, and production. As for the communication strategies, It includes the strategies that Thai users of English can apply as they perform communicative activities. And as for the communicative language competence, it refers to the language that Thai users of English need to have in order to perform communicative activities.
CFER was developed in 2001 and publicly introduced in Malaysia in 2013. In 2017, in order to enhance English proficiency skills as well as to benchmark Malaysian students against international standards, MOE decided to adopt the CFER. Thus, the primary and secondary English language curriculum were aligned to the CEFR in 2017. With this vision in mind, the CEFR was introduced to Malaysian teachers towards the end of 2016 via the familiarization cascade training. In 2017, courses such as learning material adaptation, curriculum induction and item writing were conducted to prepare teachers for the CEFR aligned primary school English curriculum. The reason why it is introduced is because of weak English proficiency among Malaysian and Malaysian university students. Even as an English teacher, they don't have the proficiency to really teach English. Language learners have traditionally been described rather vaguely as beginners, intermediate learners or advanced learners. They are given letter grades, for example A-, B or etc. or numerical scores in reports or transcripts. But these grades and numbers do not say much about what a learner is able to do in the target language. CEFR, however, is a little different. It also identifies three broad levels of language proficiency, which are basic, independent, and proficient. But it goes further and provides can-do statements at each level to describe a learner's ability in some detail and in a positive manner. For basic user, it is for primary students and also secondary students who's learning this language for the first time. For A1, the students can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases aimed at the satisfaction of needs of a conjugate type. The students also can introduce him and others and can ask and answer questions about personal details such as where she lives, people she knows, and etc. Next, for A2, the students can understand sentences and frequently use expressions related to areas of most immediate relevance. Example, very basic personal and family information, shopping, local geography, and etc. Then the students can also communicate in a simple and routine task requiring a simple and direct exchange of information on familiar and routine matters. For basic user, it is for primary students and also secondary students who's learning this language for the first time. For A1, the students can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases aimed at the satisfaction of needs of a conjugate type. The students also can introduce him and others and can ask and answer questions about personal details such as where she lives, people she knows, and etc. Next, for A2, the students can understand sentences and frequently use expressions related to areas of most immediate relevance. Example, very basic personal and family information, shopping, local geography, and etc. Then the students can also communicate in a simple and routine task requiring a simple and direct exchange of information on familiar and routine matters. Next, for independent user, it also suitable for secondary students. For B1, the students can understand the main points of clear standard input on familiar matters regularly encountered in work, school, leisure, and etc. The students can also deal with most situations likely to arise while traveling in an area where the language is spoken. While for B2, the students can understand the main ideas of complex texts on both concrete and abstract topics, including technical discussions in his or her field of specialization. Then, the students can interact with a degree of fluency and spontaneity that makes regular interaction with native speakers quite possible without straining for either party. The CEFR gives teachers, test developers, etc. a clearer picture of what someone at given level is capable of doing. For example, a B1 learner in a school should be able to do the same things as a B1 learner in another school or country that also uses CEFR. International high-stakes tests such as IELTS, TOEFL, and TOEIC are aligned to CEFR. For this reason, CEFR features prominently in the reform of English language education as laid out in English language education reform in Malaysia, the roadmap in 2015 to 2025.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurun, Afina meeting Mustakim. We are moving to the characteristic of CEFR. To make it more clear, I make a table to differentiate some characteristics before and after CEFR. For primary school, before CEFR Align was implemented, the KBSM focused on thinking skills, learning how to skills, and communication technology skills. While in KSSR CEFR Align, it focuses on 21st century skills, which give emphasis on thinking skills as well as life skills and one career based on pure value practices. Then it also emphasizes the higher order thinking skills, which is the ability to apply knowledge, skills and value in reasoning, reflecting, problem solving, decision making, innovating and creating. In terms of grammar, in the KBSR, grammar items should not be taught in isolation but rather in the context of the topic. It has a list that must be taught by the teacher. Grammar in KSSR does not focus on specific grammar but focus on meaning and enjoyment to help children to build positive attitudes and confidence with learning English. As for the assessment, KBSR had a final examination and at the end of year 6 students would have UPSR. While in KSSR CFR Align, the assessment is school-based assessment. There are two types of school assessment carried out in school, which are the formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment is carried out by teachers to gain immediate feedback on their students' learning progress and aims at determining whether and to what degree students have learned what they are expected to learn at the end of an instructional period. In terms of approach, KBSR used multiple intelligence and knowledge acquisition, while CEFR aligned approach are constructivism, contextual learning, project-based learning, and inquiry-based learning. Moving on to secondary school, in terms of skills, KBSM, the focus skills are the same with primary school, which are thinking skills, learning how to learn skills, information and communication technology skills, while CEFR focuses on 21st century skills, higher order thinking skills, and also student-centered learning. In KBSM, the grammar items are listed and to be taught over the 5 years of secondary schooling. These items are part and parcel of the learning outcomes. Meanwhile, in CEFR, although grammar is explicitly taught, it should be noted that teachers will need to ensure the grammatical structures and functions are integrated where possible within lessons focusing on the 4 skills literature in action. For this reason, grammar lessons are referred to as language awareness lesson within the scheme of work. KBSM had the final examination and at the end of Form 5 they would sit for the SPM examination. And KSSM also has the SPM examination, but they also integrated the school-based assessment. Next, KSSR also used multiple intelligence and knowledge acquisition approach, and CEFR aligned approach are constructivism, contextual learning, project-based learning, and inquiry-based learning.
It is believed that the adoption of CEFR can be a catalyst to empower the use of English language among Malaysians since it is a thorough framework.
From this project, I learned that CEFR is an alignment in the current syllabus. Before this, I had some confusion about the current syllabus, which are KSSR and KSSM. I thought they were not a part of CEFR. Next, I acknowledge that the Malaysian Minister of Education is always looking for initiative to upgrade the English syllabus to help students improve their English language, and one of them is CEFR. I believe that knowing the background of the syllabus can help teachers, especially future teachers, to find effective teaching methods and materials.
In my opinion, we have to recognize that English in a global context will be subject to variation and change as it spreads into different domains of use and communities of users. Languages do not vary and change proactively under their own sting, but reactively in response to certain social forces. We are talking about matters of pluralism and assimilation, which CEFR has been attempting to address, as well as linguistic practicality, communicative efficiency, and social mobility. This means balancing the need for an awareness of other varieties of English with the need of transparency in what is nationally and internationally acceptable in terms of being a competent language user.
Amendments needed to be made in order to achieve the goals in education, and even though it means we needed to adopt and adapt from others, it may help us to solve the problems, which in this case is to empower the English proficiency among Malaysians.